Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 140 on scavengerlife.com. Now, I wanted to take a second to note that Jay has been doing the interviews lately alone because I have been crazy working. So he has been taking care of the interviews during the week while I am obviously listing on eBay. So this week, Jay had a chance to interview Andrew from the Pickin' Profits YouTube channel. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen him on YouTube, and we were really excited to be able to talk to him.
So today we are with Andrew from Pickin' Profits, and I'm sure many of you know him from his YouTube. I had reached out to you a while ago, and then you reached out to me, and we've been kind of talking back and forth, and it's given me a chance to kind of go through and watch a lot of the videos that you've done, and you put a lot up. And the reason why I think I'm attracted to what you put up on your YouTube videos is that you really get into the details, and I also love it that it's very low emotion and drama. It's just very kind of all business-like, which I'm really attracted to. When I go to your About page, you call it yourself a polymath, and I guess I just wanted to start out with how you got started and what a polymath is and why you're attracted to kind of being on eBay and Amazon.
All right. Well, first off, of course, obviously, it's really great to be here. I've listened to and watched a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube, basically, and you guys are, I remember you guys had the website, and then you had to change it, and I've kind of been following you guys for a while, and I really like the podcast type things that you guys do. It's really great to be here, so thanks for having me on.
No
First,
problem.
I just wanted to say that. I've thought about what I should have as my YouTube name, and it's really tough because once you pick it, that's what your name is. And I kind of just settled with Picking Profits. At the time, I was like, I don't know what exactly I want to do on my channel, because you can talk about a lot of things or you can make it very niche topic related. And in this case, I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just do a channel about something else a different time, because what I heard is you don't want to make it too diverse because then you won't have a target audience. I mean, I knew back then, I was like, well, I want to be able to grow my channel and make it be successful. I don't just want it to be a complete hodgepodge or whatever. I use the word polymath. It's a pretty powerful word. I mean, it's, some people would call me arrogant or use some other term to say that I'm, using an overreaching statement about myself, because polymath is a pretty hardcore word. But my goal is to fill those shoes. I mean, when I sit down and I do a listing, I mean, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating when I say I sit down and I listen about 12 hours a day to history, politics, philosophy, just you name it, everything and anything. And I'm just extremely interested in that sort of stuff. And I want to know everything about everything, but I realize that there's only so many years in your life that you can, learn everything about everything. So
right.
I try really hard to learn as much about everything as possible. So I really want to be the jack of all trades and master of a few as well.
Right. And so I guess I just thought that word is interesting because I can understand it. And just so people who don't know, polymath means a person who teaches himself or herself, right? I mean, a self-taught person.
Well, I believe the term is technically someone who's very well learned. They're like an expert in a number of different fields.
Right.
And generally speaking, it's regarded for people who are extremely intelligent and just they pick up stuff.
Yeah.
And they just have a constant, insatiable hunger for knowledge. I could certainly say that would define who I am and what I'm about.
And see, I think that's cool because I think when someone wants to run an eBay or an Amazon, its business, that's kind of a good word if you want to be successful, because it's about having to learn a lot about many different items. I know some people just like to focus on one little tiny single thing, but I think like us, we sell everything. So over the years, and we've been doing this now for 8 years now, I mean, we've learned a lot about all kinds of different things. Antique glass, horse saddles. I mean, antique furniture. It's just like coins. You have to have a hungry appetite to keep on picking up its new items to see why they're important and why people want them.
I had a hangout last night, and we were talking in great depth about. It came up to what my plans are in the future for eBay or Amazon or whatnot, and basically what I said was, it's going to be really tough to build an empire, to build an empire with eBay or Amazon or Etsy or anything like that, Craigslist, you name it. It would be next to impossible. On Amazon, you can do a lot of crazy stuff in order to really dominate and leave a name for yourself. It's really tough to do that on eBay or Amazon or Etsy or whatnot. And what I decided not too long ago was that I wanted to be the best I could possibly be. I wanted to make as much money as I possibly could while doing something that I love. And also, the key to all of this is reaching as many people as possible and helping as many people as possible. Because that's how you really get successful, by reaching a massive, massive audience and basically servicing their wants or needs.
Right. Now, I think this is interesting. You talk about empire, and I don't know, if you say that as kind of a joke, but I think a lot of us, when you start getting into eBay and Amazon, and if you start to make a full-time amount of money on it, I know for us, you kind of hit a wall because there's only so many hours in the day that you can spend. So are you going to try and push through that? What are you talking about, hiring employees? Or is there a limit to what you can accomplish, and then that's good enough because it buys you freedom and your time?
I started on eBay, and I realized that I was going to hit a plateau, and I did. And then I was like, well, how can I expand? How can I make more money? How can I make more money easier? Mm-hmm. And so I learned about Amazon FBA, and I started making more money easier, with less work put in. And I'm at the point now where I'm selling, hundreds of items each week, and I don't even have to look at them.
Right, because so we can let people know, because you box them up, send them to the Amazon a warehouse, and then Amazon takes care of everything after that. They pack it and ship it and all that.
Yeah. Amazon FBA is the best thing ever,
right,
to happen for e-commerce resellers.
Cool. Well, I'm going to have a lot of questions about that because I don't know if you're aware. So we're very much into eBay, and I'm always really skeptical about Amazon FBA, so I'll have questions about that. But it sounds like it works well in your case, so that's great. The other question I had before we kind of get into some details of how buying and selling works in your case. So this is something that my partner and I talk about. We are very comfortable because of what we sell on eBay, and we're very psyched that it's bought us our freedom. So when you say you want to be rich or make as much money as you make as possible, what are you talking about? Do you want to make $1 million? Every a year?
I'm not entirely sure if I have a goal in mind. I think certainly $1 million is a good goal to go for. And that's going to be quite a ways away. I'm never going to be, some crazy rich person, certainly. But if I can make $1 million a year net profit from all sources, not necessarily just eBay, but I'll always be an eBay or Amazon seller. I love flipping stuff for profit and finding the treasure. But yeah, if I can make $1 million a year someday, doing something that I absolutely love while helping people and making a difference in the world, that's the ultimate goal. As an entrepreneur, I say I want to make as much money as I can while helping people and doing something I love. It doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think just we had talked about a bit before we started, just the whole balance between, a work and downtime. And you talk about working 12 and 14-hour days. And we certainly work a lot too, put a lot of hours. But there are definitely days when we're just like, you know what? we could definitely work another, 8 hours, and maybe that would make some more it's money. But you know what? We're not going to work that. We're going to just walk away and, hop in some kayaks and get in a river outside of our house. So,
that's a good point. You're totally right about that. And the thing with me is I don't have any kids right now. I don't have any, I live a fairly simple life.
Yeah.
And I'm generally like a pretty simple person. Like I'm pretty frugal. I don't really go out and spend a bunch of money on stuff. But my girlfriend works in the city, and one of the reasons I do what I do, I work as many hours as I do, is because she has late hours and she takes a 45-minute train in. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of time to myself, and I choose to use all of that time to spend on business. And then when she comes home, I'll spend time with her, of course. But she's got to go to bed again fairly soon because she has to go to work. It's the work-life balance. It's sometimes tough when you have someone else in your life that isn't doing what you're doing, because, I mean, from time to time she gets pretty jealous. But I say, hey, I'm working. Like sometimes I'll sleep in a bit, and it's tough because she has to get up early and go to work. But I'm like, well, I'm going to stay up late and get 5 hours of sleep tonight. So it kind of all balances out. But certainly, yeah. I mean, I'm free to do whatever I want. I actually took off like at least a month. It was pushing 2 months this year where we were moving, and I had to just basically put everything on hold and do all the moving. And it was good because with Amazon FBA, the money kept coming in, and I didn't change my prices or anything. I just let stuff sell as it would, and because I have so many long tail items, I hardly even noticed a dip.
See, we love hearing that, and we'll talk about that because we're big proponents of having a large inventory, whereas some people just like to keep it lean and mean. But let me talk about that real quick. So when I watch your videos, from what I can see, to me, I imagine you're in this room just surrounded by books and inventory, like shelves of it, and you just like have like a little corner that you work in all day long. Is that the right impression that I get?
Well, I think last year I would say that's very close to what it would be, but sometime I believe it was maybe I guess it'd be earlier in the year, I came to the conclusion, I was like, let me make as much money as I possibly can out of the space of a closet, because one of the big things is on eBay, as you know, if you ship something out that's first class mail, then it's probably not going to take up much space. It's probably going to be, very small and delicate and precious. And one of the items that I've recently got into is ties. Mm-hmm. And another one of the items that I've been strongly considering really getting into is photographs. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I love those items is because I could have 1,000 ties like in a closet. And that's, conceivably a ton of money.
Right.
And the same with photographs. I could have like 1,000 photographs in my hand. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on. And when you take it to a bigger scale, I say, I want to make as much money as I possibly can doing something that I love from my cell phone. So it's like if I manage a website and I do all these things and I talk about all these things and my inventory is in one closet.
Right.
I mean, I think that would be extremely efficient.
Sure.
And I think that would be a goal to work towards. And I'm actually really in the process right now of saying, okay, well, how much can I possibly make out of the space of a closet? Because I want to keep everything as simple as possible. One of the biggest problems that I've had, I guess you could call it problems or blessings, but I don't have much space here. I need to work with the space I have, and it's kind of forced me to be really, really careful with my space because there's just no space to deal with. But my long-term goal, I want to be able to have enough space where I can sell whatever I want, and it won't be a concern. And someday I'll have a place, and I'll have an office building. I'll get all my deductions, and I'll use it as a business location, and it'll be dedicated 100% to eBay. Like if you look at the thing that Dallas Moore has set up, I think that's awesome, and it's an inspiration, and that's my long-term goal. Have a studio and a processing center and storage thing where I can do all of that out of. I mean, that's my long-term goal. But ideally, I know, as you mentioned before, when it comes to having a bunch of items, I want to sell. Eventually, I want to sell only super high-end stuff, really valuable stuff that I can go on eBay and just drop 300 and say, you know what, I'm going to flip this for 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, once you start to really get into the process and you have a good store and stuff is going to sell, then you hit that wall of time. Like, I can't list enough. And then the thing that you can change is the kind of items that are sold. And you can be like, in the same amount of time, I can list $1,000 items versus just, $10 items, and that's, I think, where we're at as well. We're trying to raise the price of items, the quality of items that we scavenge. And that's, it's easier said than done. Like, it sounds great. Yeah, I'll go spend $300 and sell something for 1,000, but finding those items is not as easy as it sounds, in my opinion.
Yeah, it certainly is tough, but the place to do it certainly is, eBay.com
Sure.
or Amazon. And I've been really getting into that recently, exploring my options. And I guess the biggest reason why, other than because it's awesome, is the barrier to entry.
Right.
If you go to a book sale and you scan books, the barrier to entry is like just, oh, okay, show up. And it's like you can get a $100 book or $200 book just for showing up.
Right.
And you can pay $1 for it.
Right.
If you go on eBay and you take a whole bunch of people and you say, okay, go buy an antique, you have a budget of $200, go buy one antique on eBay, auction or buy it now. You have 2 weeks to find your item. Let's see what the most value, like how much money can you make on that item.
Sure.
I think that'd be an awesome experiment to do, and someday maybe I'll document it. I don't know, have fun with it.
I think it's interesting though. I mean, so we've in the past 12 months definitely been getting into the higher end items, but like you talk about a long tail, and for people that don't know that word, it just means that the stuff that sells at the very end, the stuff that's not very popular, but that people still is want. Like, there might be only 100 people on the planet that buy that one thing, and bigger corporations don't deal with that stuff because they like volume. So we also buy the stuff that's at long tail. The problem is that you have to be willing to hold on to it, So we definitely have items that we sit on for a year, sometimes even 2 years. And we don't mind because we have lots of storage. But I know a lot of people, they get very scared when an item is in their store for longer than sometimes even a month. I mean, people just start getting freaked out, cutting their prices, all that stuff. We're just like, nope, buy and hold.
Yeah. I mean, long tail, is, in my opinion, is really where you need to be focusing, because, Amazon has basically built a lot of their business around that. And that's what makes Amazon stand out so much, because if you go to Barnes and Noble or whatever, you can't buy the book from 1940 that has a 7 million rank or something.
Right.
And on Amazon you can, because Amazon is just data and the space. I mean, the item is not being stored there, or if it is, it doesn't matter, because the space is not an issue. That's what makes Amazon so powerful, knowing that you can pretty much get whatever you want, no matter when it was made or what it is, as long as it's some sort of a media type item generally. But when it comes to long tail, books are just incredible, because I'll get a long tail book and people will be like, oh man, that's total junk. The place that's selling it won't know or care. My competition doesn't know what they're doing on Amazon. And one of the biggest problem, or the biggest mistake, is thinking that you're going to sell a long tail item quicker by lowering the price. And
Right.
as you know, it's like I will just have a weird, strange item that's not popular, and I'll be like, yeah, someone's going to buy this.
Yep.
Like I had a really interesting piece. It's probably the best example of this. It was a copper plaque from Masada, which I guess I'm not entirely sure if it's in Israel or part of Israel, but it's somewhere in that region, and it's an extremely important landmark. I believe it was like a town or a city, and it got like conquered. But there's a really interesting story. I sold it to some guy, and it was like it was just a small copper plaque. I just put a crazy price on it. And I said, let's see, because I didn't see any like it, but I saw that the Masada stuff was going for a whole bunch of money. I said a crazy price.
How much?
I'm trying to think. It was a while back. I think it was like $200 or something.
Okay.
And it was just this small little copper plaque. It was maybe 5 by 3 inches and like maybe 3 inches tall. And it even had a flaw on it. It had a small little chip on the back. But if anybody saw that, I might put it up there if I put it up there for $10 auction, it might not sell 5 times if I relisted it. And then on the 5th time, the guy who really wanted it, who would be willing to pay $200, he'd pick it up for $10 happily.
Yep.
But if it was $200, he'd buy it, and he did. So that's how you sell long tail items. You just have to be patient. But the key is getting them cheap enough.
Andrew, I'm so in love with you right now. We just did, everyone who hears this podcast knows my whole point of view on this. And I just did a podcast about this. I'm just like, I'm so against the auctions on eBay because of what you just said. Because these long tail items, you have to hope that the person that wants it is online during that 5 or 7 day auction. And very often they aren't. So an item goes for way under what it's actually worth. Whereas if you just do the research, put a high price on it, if you put a make offer on it, then those people who collect that will eventually show up, and they'll buy it for the price it should get sold at.
And that's basically my core philosophy as a reseller. The other thing I'd mention is one thing I've really been getting into this year is let's look at what type of buyers there are, how much money they have to spend, and how quickly they're willing to spend it on what I'm selling. If you sell something at auction for a penny plus shipping starting bid or whatever, then you get a lot of people who are like, all right, I'm a penny pincher, I'm going to be real cheap. It's not to insult them, just I'm not here to spend money. I want the deal.
Right.
And I don't want to sell to people who want a deal.
Right.
And eBay wants you to sell to people who want a deal.
Amazon to me often looks like the race to the lowest price, and that's not who we try and sell to.
Oh yeah, I could go on and on all day about prices, but I said in a hangout yesterday, and I gotta start recording some of these because we talked for like 5 hours last night. Basically, prices fluctuate, and on Amazon, prices fluctuate a lot. I've got close to 12,000 books on Amazon, and what happens is, it's at the point now where like I send some in, and then a whole bunch of them sell. So at 12K, it's kind of like a point where it sells almost as quickly as I send it in because I have such a huge volume. But what happens is I look at a book and I'm like, okay, this book came out in 1980. It's been consistent. It sells a few copies a month, right? And it's done that for the last, 24 years or whatever, 34 years. So it's like, it's going to keep selling. It's probably, the likelihood that this book is going to sell 2 copies a month going forward is pretty good. So if someone wants to come in and price it $5, even though I set it at $25 earlier in the year, I'm going to wait because the price is going to fluctuate up and it's going to go down. And yes, I could sell it for less, and yes, I might even be able to sell it for more, but the price that I set, it's a good price. And it's within that. It's probably within that price. If you were to put it on a graph, you could see it would be within the area that I think is a fair price for it.
Exactly.
And,
we never stress about the price we sell things for because we do all the research up front, and we know what about what we can get for it for the most part. And then once it sells, we're good with it. We aren't afraid that we sold it for too less or for too much. It's just, if you do the research, then your prices should make you feel good.
Yeah, and there's so much money to be made if you do it the right way, because a lot of people do it the wrong way, and a lot of people just they don't even know. And it's okay not to know, and it's okay to do it the wrong way, as long as you're learning that you're not supposed to do it that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even up for debate. If people want to sell a long tail book that's ranked like 2 million, if they want to price it $4 FBA, and it's not debatable, you're wrong. Like, it's a bad business decision, and I see people all the time justify it, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're completely wrong. A long tail book needs to sit, and if it sits for 4 years, you're making money on it. Because if you want to store a book at Amazon, if you take like a small book, let's say even a small hardcover, they'll sit there, and it's about a penny a month. I think, around fourth quarter, the price goes up a bit. But as long as you have just one unit, if you have more than one unit of the same exact thing, then you pay a long-term storage fee and you have problems. But if you have just one book that's the same one, with no duplicate in your inventory, if you have it sit there for 5 years, it's not even $1 in storage fees. So if you set your price about even $10 for a book, I don't think you can get that sort of return on investment in any other way through any stock or investment at all. I mean, it's incredible. So when I send in 1,000 books a week, some of them might sit for a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years. But once you're in the game, you're in the game, and there's no turning back, really. I mean, sure, I could blow them out, but there's so much money to be made by just being patient. And one of the last things I'd say about this is, I had a saying, it was something like you can't buy time, but you can buy quality. So it's like, if you buy something that's a quality piece and you just let it sit, you're letting the item work for you, as opposed to spending all your time working on things that aren't really necessarily worth your time to make that money.
I feel like we're recording a love story here, because what you just said is everything I always say, and that is, like, on eBay, because that's what we focus on. I feel like when people do a lot of pushback, I always say I do not mind having to store an item in my eBay inventory for a year or even 2 years, but it's only costing me 5 cents a month. So if I'm going to make a $30 profit on something, even if it's in my store for 2 years, that's 24 months times 5 cents. I mean, it's barely over $1 just to keep it up there. Like, it's nothing. So I'm still making its money on it. All it's doing is just taking up space. And as long as I don't mind that, it's not a big deal. Averse the people that get really worried when they are racking up a 5-cent fee every month, and they just feel like they have to just discount just to move it. I'm just like, I make money because I'm patient. I do all the work up front, and then I just sit back and things just sell.
Yeah, I'm an extremely technical person who kind of, like, I just love to just sit down and just study something and just look at it and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to learn about this. And I listen. Some people read, some people listen, some people watch. While I'm working, I just sit and I'm working on my books, and I just listen to data and I just absorb it. And so I learn about what I'm doing. I look at how things are going, and I say, this is working, this isn't working. Oh wow, I can get this for really cheap, and if I just wait, then people will buy it. So my real goal, as I said before, and I've been meaning to make a video about this exact topic, and I keep saying that, and I've been saying this for like a year, but I'm going to make a video about it soon. And that's basically, the items that you want to sell are items that are very subjective. Items that you can get from people who think it's junk and sell to people who love it. And that's not necessarily something like a Game Boy game where it's like someone just doesn't like it. That's something like a piece of artwork, because someone might just go crazy for it. And my goal is to find items that are long tail items that someone prices for $4 that I buy and then sell for $50 or $100, or more money. And I want my entire inventory to be hand-picked, subjective items that are very high-end. And one of the items that I've been getting into recently, as I said before, photographs, ties, and whatnot. There are so many different options for things you can buy, but you're probably not going to find too many of those at a thrift store or at a Goodwill. And I think one of the biggest traps is people who are beginners, they go to the Goodwill and they go to the thrift store and they buy a ton of stuff. And I'm guilty of it. Everyone is guilty of it, I think, at some point, because that's part of the learning experience.
Yeah.
But when you get to the point where I'm starting to reach through all the hard work and all the suffering and all the skinning my knees on the freaking falling off the bicycle and bashing up my head on the ground and whatnot, like you learn from your mistakes, and hopefully you learn from your mistakes anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true, is that, and we talk about it on our blog a lot, is just, it's new people. The hunt and the scavenging is really the easy part, in my opinion. Did you go anywhere, especially in this country where we have so much abundance and waste, and you can buy a carload of stuff for, $100. The hard part is then when it's in a big pile and you have to figure out, how do I sell this stuff, and what stuff is worth, and what are the mistakes I made in my hunting. Like I thought that this is cool, but it's really not. And do I want to focus on items that only sell for $5? And that's when why we focus on scavenging, is that then you have to become just a better scavenger and to teach yourself not to buy a lot of stuff. I think that's the hardest thing.
I've been guilty of that, and I'll admit it. I bought too much stuff and I didn't sell it fast enough, and I learned the hard way, which I think is probably the best way to learn. I learned that I should deal with high-end stuff that I'm going to get a lot of money for, and I'm not going to have much competition on. Also, that's another really important thing.
Right.
Because if I sell a unique, one-of-a-kind painting, sure, there's competition for other ones that are similar, but I have the only one, and that's really why I want to get into that sort of thing. My goal is that I want to target the person who says money's not an issue. I don't care how much it costs within reason, and I'm just going to get it because I want it.
Yeah.
And certain items sell that way, and certain items don't.
My partner has been getting into antique playing cards, and she realizes that people don't really sell them for very much when we're out at the flea markets, and she just found a pack that she paid, I don't think even $1 for, maybe a quarter, and she sold them for $600 just because they were. It's like we talk about this long tail item, and this woman in Australia, she gathers these things, and she was willing to pay $600 for this really rare deck of cards. My partner just had the foresight to do the research and to I think also a lot of new people, they're afraid of being bold. If the research says that you can sell something for $600, be bold and put $600 on it. I think a lot of new people, they just think, oh, I'm selling trash. Like there's no way someone's going to pay that, but they will.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome story. I found some crazy things in the past, and I try to showcase them and talk about them and share them because they motivate people, and also that's the big thing. And you have a story, and when I make videos about Amazon, everyone wants to know about Amazon because it's really easy. It's really easy to do Amazon, and it's really easy to make a ton of money on Amazon with FBA. And like I said, we could discuss this for all day, but I think I would rather have a room full of high quality antiques or collectibles that have held the test of time, that are going to be worth their money in the future. Like if I have a really, let's say I have 100 high-end designer ties that retail for $150 or $200, and I buy them for $10 each. Which would you rather have? I'll ask you, which would you rather have? $1,000 worth of snack food grocery type items where you're selling them on Amazon through FBA and your margins are kind of slimmer. I mean, let's look at it. Thousands of pounds of junk food. Would you rather have that as your inventory, or would you rather have tons and tons and tons of high quality nonfiction books, from 30 years ago? Or would you also rather have high-end designer ties where you could literally walk down the street in a city and sell it to a businessman walking by for twice what you paid? I would rather have the ties that are going to be worth easily double what I paid for them, basically for a while to come. And the same with books. Well, which would you rather have?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of a loaded. It's a question, of course. I mean, that's how we run our business too. I mean, we focus on the things, the one of a kind items where, when you do a search on eBay, there might be only 10 other people that have that item, and that's the stuff we love to sell. Not just because it makes good business sense, but also because this is our life. We do this for a living. We want to, if we're going to sell things and have them around us, we want the stuff around us that excites us, So we love things of historical value, or it's artistic, or, that kind of stuff. So I'm right there. I'm side by side. I mean, like I said, I think we're recording a love story here. I think we're kind of, side by side in kind of how we do our stores. I have some specific questions about its process. So let me kind of walk you through this. So when I look at your wall of videos on YouTube, it seems like there's kind of a mix between your books, which seems a big part of your store, versus eBay, where you go to thrift stores and just buy things to sell there. So what percentage of your business is Amazon versus eBay?
If I were to break it down into raw items, item percentage, I'd be 99.995% Amazon. But actually, you'll find it interesting to know. I think a lot of people would. I'm trying to go away from Amazon and into eBay. But as I said before, deal with only super high end stuff, and to be completely truthful, not really go out that much. Because when I go out places, unless it's like a high end estate sale, it's not going to be worth my time as much. And I want to get to the point where it's not worth my time because I'm making so much money doing all these other things. And it's just really tough, because when you look at how much time you have in each day, you got to decide, well, what's my time worth doing this? What's my time worth doing that? And when it comes to dealing with something on eBay, if it's not super high end and I don't have a helper, then it's very difficult to justify spending any time at all on eBay when I could be spending it on Amazon. And I know it's tough to say that, though, because I like selling stuff on eBay. I like holding the item and looking at it and knowing the history and sharing the history with people and talking about it, and then selling it proudly and be like, this is my really cool item. But the simple truth is that, and it's sick. It's sick. I go out, I haul 1,000 books, I pay $100, and it's worth $17K. Right. And it's like, and I'm that's just the truth. It's just money. And I don't want to be. I want to be at the point where I can make so much money from other ways that I can go back into eBay, telling the story and doing the kind of thing that you guys are basically doing. Because I would always rather have a really serious, hardcore eBay store with tons of awesome stuff in it, like you guys have, than have an Amazon store full of a bunch of stuff like retail arbitrage or groceries or whatnot. That's my goal, really. I don't want to be selling 500 backpacks a week.
Right.
There's no soul in Amazon. And I think a lot of people, they fall into that because it's like, well, it's really good money.
Okay, so just to let people know, because I feel like I get in trouble sometimes on our blog because I find that I purposely didn't pick you because you seem to be kind of down on Amazon. So people get mad at me because I seem like I'm always down on Amazon. But I say the same thing. Like, I look at Amazon and I just don't get excited by the stuff I see on there. I see it's mainly newer items, retail arbitrage stuff. And, I like eBay just because it allows us to sell the weird little trinkets and the weird little art, things that I find that we can't sell on Amazon. But okay, so let's talk about what it is like right now for you. So what % of your money every month comes from Amazon versus eBay? I mean, is it like 99% Amazon?
Oh yeah, by far.
Really?
I'm like I said, I'm trying to switch back into eBay
Okay.
because I love those types of items, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And you know, and like I tell people, just to cover my own ass, I mean, if you can make a living on Amazon and you enjoy it, then who cares? Then just keep doing that, you know? Again, we just kind of, we have just found eBay works for us with the kind of stuff we sell. But I think it is interesting. So let's talk about books. So you just put up a video about it in a blog post about how you bought 1,200 books and you boxed them all up and sent them to Amazon FBA. And I think you said you have actually 10,000 books in the Amazon warehouse. So it's like if you have a bookstore going on somewhere in someone's warehouse.
It's really interesting. It's really exciting, and I do love it. I just wanted to say briefly,
Sure.
my favorite part of reselling, it may not even be reselling itself or finding the item itself. My favorite part is telling the story and sharing the story and talking to people who love it as much as I do. Either that or I'm crazy, but I mean that's why I hang out in these hangouts for 5 hours because I'm talking to people who love what I do, and that's my passion and that's my drive. That's what gets me really. I mean, that's what gets me going. I love to do the hangouts. I love to make the videos about it. I really like making videos about reselling and finding the treasure and sharing with people. So I look at what I'm doing on eBay, I look at what I'm doing on Amazon, and I say, well, what do I like the most? And the thing that I like the most is the story. That's why I am trying to focus so much on that.
Right.
But as far as books go, the one thing I like about books at Amazon is they're kind of like an item that you could sell on eBay. So they have character to them. They're not just a faceless barcode. Like someone held that book. Probably hundreds of people held that book. They read it. And if you talk to people who are like really into books, they take it very seriously. They're like they'll hand on or pass on their book to someone else. And it's like there are some people who love books and they're very personal about it. And it's like it's interesting because with books you can find treasure. If I go scanning things at Walmart, yeah, I'll find a bunch of junk. It'll be stupid things made in China that are made out of plastic that are only worth what they are because they were marketed as such. They're not really. There's no inherent value. There's no intrinsic value to it. It's like I would rather sell something like silver bars, or a high end designer item than some piece of junk made in China, and that's why I think. It frees me from the monotonous aspect that some people may think books are, because every book is different, and with those types of profit margins, I mean, it makes what is sometimes a little bit boring. It makes it okay. Right now, I have about, like I said, 12,000 books or so, and they're at the warehouse at Amazon, and they're at a few different ones. Storage fee, like last month, it was like 200 something. It was very, very reasonable.
So only $200 in order to store 12,000 books?
It was very reasonable. One of the reasons is because I sell a lot of paperbacks. They're very small. They don't take up very much space. If you sell like a big hardcover, it can take up more space. And if you sell like a really big hardcover, it could be even oversized. But the bulk of my inventory is essentially things that cost a penny to store, pretty much.
Okay, so you bought 1,200 books. So can you walk us through it briefly? Like, so do you go to a book fair and buy 1,200 books at a time?
There are a few different places that I go to get my books from, and my favorite place by far is the Fill-A-Bag book sales. Mm-hmm. Because if you go to a Fill-A-Bag book sale, you can walk out with. I mean, if it's a pretty big sale, there's more books than you can scan or look at in a day, or in 8 hours, 10 hours. There was one book sale that we had. It was in upstate New York. They had, and I'm not exaggerating, it was over 250,000 books, and we went over the course of 3 days, and that's how long it took us to go through all of the ones that we looked at. And I think we ended up hauling over 2,500 books. It was $2 fill a bag. So if you look at the profit margin on that, and the fact that it's you're getting it all at once, it's not like, I mean, like I said, one day, 10 hours, $500.
Right. So when you say a fill a bag, are these like those temporary book sales where they, take over a convention, a center, or is this a store?
Yeah, these are generally friends of the library type things.
Okay.
Those are the best because there's a ton of stuff there. There's treasure there to be found. There's everything and anything really. The other thing is at the book sales. Well, at the book sales, there's oftentimes other things as well, like sheet music type things, or sometimes ephemera items like that. But also at the thrift stores and whatnot, everywhere else that you can get books too, there's also a whole bunch of stuff. So one of the reasons I really like it so much is because every time I go to these things, but especially thrift stores, I get the eBay stuff too.
Right. So when you're doing books like that, I mean, and it's a bag sale, I mean, you're getting what, like 50 bags of books? I mean, what do people think of you? Do they kind of know what you're doing? Because I'm assuming that you have like a scanner out on your phone and you're scanning every book. And so it's all kind of obvious what you're doing to them, right?
First off, if you look at who goes to a book sale, mostly it's people who are my parents' age.
Right.
It's like people who are at least, I mean, I think 90% of people at a book sale are over the age of 40.
Yep.
And I'm like, hello, where's my generation? What are you doing? I know you don't all have really high paying jobs that you love. I'm like, man, this is crazy, because I go there and I get a ton of books and I send them into Amazon FBA. I mean, yeah, I guess it takes work. Like, it's not just instant money.
Right. So I want to pull back real quick just to paint a picture, because I really love to understand its process. So if you're at this book sale and you're scanning books and you're filling bags, do you have like a corner where you're just like putting all these bags of books and they know like, okay, that guy's, it's making a big pile of books, and then you pay for it and then, it's fill up the back of a car with books? Is that how it works?
Yes, generally it's I race to get all the books that I want into my designated area.
Yep.
And then at the end we kind of were like, okay, well, how many bags does this look like? Or sometimes it's like, okay, well, all books are 25 cents. So like there's a place I'm going to go this weekend, which is one of my secret honey hole places, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to pile up 300 books, and they're going to be like, okay, $30.
Yeah. We call that bundling, and we love bundling. We do that at the flea markets all the time. We'll go and just make a big pile of stuff, or at estate sales, and then they always give us so much better of a deal because they don't want to go through each and every piece. They're just like, give me X dollars for that, and we're like, that's awesome because there's so many little treasures in there,
That certainly is the way to do it. And I'll tell you, with books, it's tough to describe. The vast majority of people that sell books on Amazon don't know what they're doing, and the ones that do have more books to deal with than they know how to possibly process. Mm.
So again, just to wrap up this picture we're painting at these book sales, do people ask you what you're doing with those books, and do you tell them I'm a seller?
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I don't care. Yeah, I sell them all online. But if some people are a little bit kind of like nasty about it, or they're kind of poking me a lot about it, then I might not. But like there was a time, I guess, at the last book sale I was at, and I was scanning the books, and some lady was like, what are you doing with those books? And I was like, oh, I have an emporium, because I always like to say emporium. I don't like store. Because I sell eBay, Amazon, I sell everything. So it's an emporium. And I'm like, and recently I've been like, yeah, I run a YouTube channel and I have a website and I do this and that. So what I really want to get, and I feel like an idiot for not doing it yet. I mean, I really do. This is my biggest flaw in my business. I don't have a business card. But yeah, I was saying to the lady, I was like, yeah, I sell them online. And she snaps at me. She whips her head and she snaps at me and goes, oh, so you don't care about the books then? And I was like, excuse me? I'm rescuing these books by putting them to market, because otherwise they're going to end up in a landfill,
Yep.
especially the long tail books, because the long tail books, no one wants them. So the mega companies just turn them into paper recycling. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm taking an item. I'm basically taking an item from somewhere where the buyer does not have access to it, and I'm bringing it to market. I mean, book buyers love book resellers on Amazon and eBay. I mean, it's a win-win situation, and everyone loves it. The only people that don't is the people who are at the book sale who get angry that people are making a profit off of books, because they think that book sales are supposed to be a place for the community to get free or cheap books.
Right.
And it's like if there weren't people buying the books, the library wouldn't be making money. I wouldn't be making money. There wouldn't be books being brought to market. So I deal with people like that sometimes, and it really pisses me off, because you'd be surprised. A fairly large percentage of people that ask end up being that type of person. And if it's not that type of person, it's the type of person who says, well, okay, I'm just going to sit here and continue to ask you questions. So what I take the approach of, if you give a mouse a cookie, then sooner or later he's going to want the whole house. And so I try to just ignore people. And I know it's kind of like a jerk thing to do, but sometimes I'll be at the Goodwill, I'll scan books, and some guy will come up to me and just be like, what you doing? And I'll just ignore him and, walk away.
Yeah.
But
look, I'll give you what we do. I just say I'm a collector, and that's it. It's like and it's so that way they think I'm a hoarder. I don't care. I just, I tell people I collect this stuff. So if I buy a lot of it, that's just how it is. And I hear you. It's ultimately it doesn't matter, because it's all a business transaction anyway. These things are for sale. I'm here to buy, and these are the rules that are laid out, and anything else is just other people's emotions.
exactly.
Okay, so I was watching a video of yours where you were like, okay, this is how I sell books on Amazon FBA, and you were just going through book by book, and you were like, this is this old book, I sold it for $25, and here's another book I sold for $30. So what percentage of your books are you selling for like $20 or $30 plus, and what percentage are like $12 books?
I'm kind of like a technical person, but I'm not a numbers guy.
Okay.
And what I can say is this: my average sale price per book with Amazon FBA is, historically this year, it is about $13.50.
Okay.
So,
and these are books because I'm a numbers guy, so let's just kind of ballpark it. So let's say if you're buying these books for a quarter, right? I mean, that's a ballpark number. And then you sell them for an average of $13. And then what? Amazon takes about 20% after all the fees and shipping. Does that sound about right?
I guess it depends on the book, but okay. I mean, if I sell a paperback for $10, if I remember correctly, I get back about $6.
Got it. So really, with the books, though, for you, it is about a volume game at this point. Is that right? I mean, you got to sell a lot of books to make.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's a bit of a grind. Yeah. It's like all of this year and most of last year, I would go out, I would get a ton of books, and a lot of those books I would only be making $4 or $5 profit on, and if I made less than that, it was a mistake. But I wasn't gonna like just throw out or donate it, because right. I'm only gonna make $3 on it. If it takes a minute of my time to make, $2 or $3, I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
But I think for processing books, I think I told it all up last night, how I did it, how long it took. If I get a book where I have to, like, there's different kinds of books that I get. Like, some of them are, I just wanted to touch on that again. I go to my other favorite place after the book sales is the thrift stores to get books, because oftentimes, and I mean by thrift store, I mean like the little thrift shops, not like Goodwill or Salvation
right.
Army, because at those shops, the prices are generally very reasonable.
Yep.
If a hardcover is $1 or less, then that's a really good deal, and paperbacks 50 cents or less. Generally speaking, that's the price that I get at thrift stores. And the other thing is, I don't have to de-sticker them. I don't have to price clip them. There's no surprises. If right. I get a book at a Goodwill, there's a nasty, gooey, gloppy sticker on it that takes a minute to remove completely, and that's just time. And the other thing is, they cost more money at Goodwill. Like hardcovers are $1, $2. And recently, I've seen a paperback at Goodwill that was $5, and it was not even it was a penny book. You could buy it on Amazon or eBay for a penny plus shipping, and I was baffled. And so yeah, I prefer those. And then of course, tag sales can also be total gold mines for books. But as you were asking before about the books that I deal with, I think it takes me I could do probably about 20 books in an hour that I get from Goodwill. If I get them from a thrift shop, I could probably do about 30 to 35 in an hour.
We documented on our blog. We did an experiment with books on Amazon about 4 or 5 months ago. I think we did about 50 books or something. It wasn't as quick as I thought it was, mainly because we were buying these one-of-a-kind kind of older books, and we had to kind of list each one by one, and some of them, they either weren't on Amazon, or if they were, there wasn't a good photo, so we would take the time to make our own photo and write a better description than was up there. So what percentage of your books are you buying, like 100 of the same book versus just one by one?
It's really surprising how many books there are out there. I come across ones that I have in my inventory, and sometimes I don't even know it, but it's not too often. And a lot of the books that I deal with, like my favorite book to deal with is a fast-selling paperback that I get for real cheap because they're lightweight. I get a bunch of them. They're cheap. Generally speaking, if someone buys something for $8, they're not going to be like, "Oh man, I don't like this. I'm going to return it." It's right. Like if you get like a hardcover for $40 and you're like, well, I don't know if I really want this book. They might have buyer's remorse, but a paperback for $8, $9, they're happy about that. And I sell a ton of those books.
So then, what percentage of your book sales are the paperbacks? Is versus like the ones I've seen in your videos are like the specialty kind of long tail hardbacks.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. At the book sales, book sales are where I get hardcovers because they're dirt cheap. Everywhere else, everyone prices their hardcovers really high, but hardcovers, that's not where the money is. I mean, it's tough because it depends. That's the thing. It depends. I always say that. But if you sell books on Amazon, you quickly start to learn that the big money is in the weird like educational type of books that are nonfiction that are out of print. Like that's where the biggest money is. Well, obviously, if you find a recently released one,
right? But I mean, that's so. If you're saying you make more per item on the big ones, but you're making most of your money on the paperbacks because you're selling those in volume. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd be curious to look exactly and see where most of my sales are. I've got to assume though that they're in the paperbacks because I mean it's just so easy to find paperbacks. I pay a little bit more for them because I mean I'll pay $1 for a paperback that I can sell for $7 if it's quick, and I'm not going to make that much money on it, but it's quick. And the other thing that's great is it helps with feedback. Right. So like one of the problems with with Amazon is if you aren't careful, your feedback could get destroyed pretty easily by someone just being a jerk. But if I sell a ton of paperbacks, there's like no risk involved. It's very easy. Right. And people very rarely write in a fiction book. And a lot of the paperback I sell is paperback fiction that just came out within the last year.
So here's the interesting thing too. When we did that short experiment with selling books on Amazon, and I'd be at the stores scanning books. I guess I'm kind of amazed you're able to do so well with paperbacks because I was finding, I mean, our company, we're up against bookstores who are putting all their books online. And so I would find that most paperbacks, people sell them for a penny plus $3.99 to a ship. So what kind of paperbacks are you finding that are popular but will actually sell for $8?
The thing is, I sell a lot of paperbacks for about 7 to 10, and I get them for about $1.
But if they're popular, aren't there a million others up at the same time pushing the price down?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. That's why you need to really understand how the pricing works. Because if a book is ranked 8,000 and I'm going to list it, and the lowest FBA price for very good is $7, and Amazon's selling it for $11.70. If I price it at like $8.95, it's going to sell. And I set the price and I say, okay, it's going to sell. And yeah, I mean, there's a few that don't sell, but the vast majority of them do. And just once you understand price fluctuations,
Right.
you really kind of get the hang of it.
So help me understand this. It's always been a conundrum to me when I'm even buying books on Amazon and I just want like a paperback to read. I will often find they cost a penny, and then
Yep.
I pay $3.99 to ship it. Who makes any money selling books for a penny? Do they make it on the handling cost, the $3.99?
The way it works is there's a ton of different companies out there, and what they do is they have a warehouse, and they store a bunch of books there. Generally speaking, they have it set up so that they get their books very cheap. Sometimes they get them from the end of a book sale for real cheap or maybe even free. Sometimes someone will even get paid to take them away. Perhaps it's an estate sale or whatnot. These places, what they do is they have the whole thing set up so that they get the most amount of money from their books. They have several bins for recycling them. They have a book debinder. They have that whole thing set up. Basically, the way it works is if you're sending out a ton of books each day, I think if I remember correctly, if you can send out a shipment of like 300 books, somewhere around there, it might be even more. It might be like 500 or more. Then you're able to qualify for an extremely cheaper discounted rate for. I mean, if you look at Media Mail, if last time I remember, it was like $2.48 to ship out like a book, and I'd make like a dollar after all the fees before, way back when the fees were less. And you can actually sell penny books, and there'd be a little bit of money in it, but again, it takes a long time to do that. So what these people do is when they sell a book, it might cost, I don't know, $1.50 to maybe $2 to ship out a book. And what they do is they just throw it in a bag. They throw it in a bag, they put the pack and slip in, and then they move on. And it's like when you ship a book in a bag, just a bag, it's like a poly bag. It's problematic because if it's not like a really light book, it gets destroyed.
Wait.
And that's why these people have horrible feedback.
Right, but so so I still don't understand the number. So a lot of these books that I see for a penny, yeah, it looks like it's a warehouse. It's like some bookstore in Georgia somewhere.
Yeah.
So they sell it for a penny plus $3.99 to ship it. So how much do they make on that book? Do they only cost $1 to ship it to me, so they make the extra dollars on the handling?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And they do so much volume that it supposedly makes up for it from everything that I've heard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right. It's that whole a retail arbitrage kind of thing where, people that are selling like, caramel popcorn, they sell, they only make like $3 on each of them, but they sell whatever, 300 of them or something like that. It's that way.
Yeah, and that brings me to one of the things that I wanted to mention, which is like, how do you want to make your money? Like I could make money selling fishing lures if I wanted, I mean, I could sell boxes. I could hire a bunch of people to work for me and sell something where I'm making $1 a piece.
Right.
Or I can work for myself flipping antique cars where I make, I don't know, 20 grand or whatever, just some crazy amount of money. I want to sell like paintings, where I make thousands of dollars on each one. And I have all the connections and I know exactly where to get them. Like I would rather have a super streamlined operation where I'm making a ton of money by myself. My goal is how much money can I possibly make without having to hire somebody? And it's not that I don't want to hire someone. It's not that I don't want to give someone a job. It's not that I like don't believe in that, but it's very, 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 very difficult, as I'm sure you know, to hire somebody as it is in this country with the way that things are. It's very difficult to hire somebody, do all the paperwork, do the payroll, have all the legal stuff covered, protect yourself, and then to just to do everything that you have to do. Then once you start going on it, it's like your business relies on them. So it's really tough to find good help, and it's really tough to find good help for cheap enough.
Right.
So there's so much that goes into it. And I look at people sometimes where they're expanding and they're growing their business, and they're like, okay, well, we have a warehouse, we have helpers, we're doing all this. And I look at the other booksellers and I say, okay, so you have a warehouse, you're selling books that you make $1 profit on, and you have like 20 workers, right? Like there's something to be said for that. But if I could make $100,000 a year selling high quality neckties out of my closet, I think I'd rather do that. And I think people will disagree with me on that, but that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah, I mean, we've done podcasts about the idea of hiring people because, we've hit that wall where we can only list so much a day no matter how much time we put into it. So that's why we're focusing more on the things we do list. We're trying to find higher priced items, so that's how we make more its money. But, I've really looked into hiring someone and, paperwork, all that stuff, that really isn't the barrier. To me, it's all about what kind of lifestyle I want. I feel like once I started hiring people and, someone depends on me and, they're either here in our home or at some office somewhere, then it's just, I feel like then it starts to feel like a real job, and that's kind of not why we do this. We like to do this because it's a lifestyle as we like, and we want to work really, really hard. We work really, really hard, and we want to kind of turn off and enjoy ourselves. We can just turn off and enjoy ourselves without being concerned about anybody else while our store is still online and making us money. So I think that's how we've kind of approached the idea of employees. It's more about just the hassle of it. I think it's more of a hassle than people think it is.
Like I hate dealing with taxes. I hate dealing with CPA. I hate dealing. I mean, even if they tell you everything you have to do, it's still something that I stress out about. And I want it to be simple.
Yeah.
And like if you have a website that a lot of people go to and you just literally make a video, like you make videos and you talk about it, that's very simple. And I don't have to stress about it, and I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to think about it. I get paid this much in ads. I do this. I market this thing, and right. I'm all set. And that's, for me, I like simplicity. Yeah.
I think that's why when you were talking earlier about all of it, you guys hanging out on YouTube and talking about building empires and stuff, I guess when I see people talk about that, and I just think people get a little over exuberant, I guess, God bless people if they want to start a big company with like a lot of employees, because that's definitely one way to ramp it up. I think for us, we feel rich. We feel like a millionaire because we own our time for the most part, and that's what we're trying to do with eBay is just selling online, whether it be eBay or someplace else, is just, we just want to own more and more of our time and be able to have more and more flexibility in our lives. That gives us choices to work on personal projects, to travel, all that stuff. I really don't want $1 million per se, because I feel like to work enough on eBay to make $1 million would mean like I would lose all of my time, and that's the thing that's most important to us.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And when it comes to time management, what you're going to do with your time, that's why I've really focused more towards telling the story, sharing the videos, and working on building up my own thing outside of Amazon and eBay. Because if I have a really popular YouTube channel and I'm making money on ads and I'm doing something that I love, I get to the point where I start getting money, which is essentially like royalties, then I have even more time, and my end game goal is to not have to sell out of necessity, but only out of my passion for what I do.
There you go.
That's my main goal. Yeah. And if I can get financially free so that I don't have to rely on the income and the grind, then I can really start having fun. And I'm getting to that point slowly where I want to be able to go on a road trip and stop by and say, oh, hi, I'm visiting, let's say I'm in Idaho today, or I'm in, Washington State the other, and it's like, oh, I'm in California now. And it's like I'll meet up with people and have an interview with them and have a chat and show and tell. And that's like my goal, just to be completely free, where I update something and I make a video, and then I'm making enough money so I can really tell the story and vlog about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, and that sounds like you don't need $1 million to do that. You just need
Right.
to manage your money and your time that you can balance that. And that's kind of what we've done. I mean, we actually travel quite a bit. We're about to go to Amsterdam in the month of September, and we'll keep our store on, and it's great. And we definitely are not millionaires, but I think the other thing is we've just learned to bring our cost of a living down. We live very simply, but I think we live very well. That's the thing that it makes us happy. Okay, I don't want to keep you here all day long. I just had a couple of questions to kind of wrap this up. I think what's interesting talking to you is that you're a young guy. Can I ask how old you are? 28?
Well, I'll hit the big 2-8 next year in
I
February.
knew it. 28. Wow. So that's amazing. I find like a lot of people who sell on eBay are older. I find like it's people who have been through the workforce, been kind of ground down, and then they come to eBay because they feel they want to get to something that, brings them a little peace in their life while they can still pay their bills. I don't find as many young people that get into eBay just because they get, they're starry-eyed, they get out of school and they're like, I want to have a career and promotions and all that stuff. What made you choose this then to go that route?
Oh man, that's a good one. I kind of did it out of, I guess, I kind of just stumbled into it, really. I mean, I used to think that I was going to be a professional poker player. And what happened? Well, here's what happened briefly. I'll try to keep it brief.
Yeah.
I went to school for art, for ceramic art. I loved ceramic art, and I took an internship, and I had opportunities to go to a high-end school where I was like, it was paid, and I turned it down because, and people call me crazy, and they're like, what are you doing? Go to it. It's scholarship. It's like all freaking paid in full. And I turned it down because I was like, well, I don't really know if I want to do ceramic art for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if I want to be, like, when I was like 17, 18, I figured it out early. I was like, the only job I can get by majoring in art is an art teacher.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm not going to hit it big and be like some super successful person where I can even pay rent if I'm just like a starving artist. So I was like, you know what? I'm not entirely sure if that's the right path I want. So I kind of like, when I was 17, 18, I was playing online poker. And poker, for me, I was doing more poker then than I'm doing reselling now.
I mean, just real quick, it sounds like you're kind of an obsessive guy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but that you kind of put your mind to something and just dive in really deep.
Yeah, people say my parents always told me, they said, you go on these jags. And I'm like, no, I'm learning about something that I'm going to master. And then as soon as I do, I'm going to go learn about something else that I'm going to master. I have the hunger for knowledge. And at that time, poker was that. And I would be one of those people who they classified then as internet whiz kid, where you're just playing online poker. You're playing like 20 tables at once, and you're doing all right. And I was getting better, and I was making more money, and things were going good. And I kept getting those chances where if I just went a little deeper in the tournament, I'd score like 200K, and it'd be like, damn it, because I just got knocked out before the final table. But there's so many times like that, and I started playing poker, and I got good at it, and I was making good money, and I was really happy, and it was something I loved. And then it got taken away. It became illegal, so I couldn't do it anymore. And then I got screwed, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, that's my life. I was going to be a professional poker player. So I ended up working like odd jobs, and I took a job at a gas station, and I met some really great people. And from then on, I kind of was like, well, how can I make more money without a college degree? And I kind of jumped into eBay, selling part-time a little bit here and there. My brother got me into it, and I started finding that I really enjoyed it. And sooner or later, I was like, hey, I'm making more money than I am working at the gas station. Let's see if I can, really go into this. This is fun. So I kept ramping it up, kept making more money, kept doing more stuff. And sooner or later, I was making enough money where I could leave my parents' place and move in with my girlfriend. And ever since then, it's just been an ever continuing,
It's kind of an adventure. I think that's the way we see eBay. It's like, it's one adventure after another, because it's once you break out of that cycle of working in an office. It sounds like you never really had to work in an office, and that's really great. But it's once you kind of break out of that kind of typical, predictable lifestyle. It's just so weird, all the little things, opportunities that pop up, people that you meet, and you really make it your own luck, and we always say that, and and it seems very scary to people who are accustomed to just having a 9-to-5 job. But, it's once you can make that a leap of faith and put a lot of work into it, I don't know, it's done well. It's for us.
Everyone always told me, go to college, go back to college, go do this. And I'd be like, no, I'm going to be free. Like, I want to be free, even if that means like walking on glass for the rest of my life. So and people always told me, oh, you have to have a backup plan. What if eBay doesn't work for you? What if Amazon doesn't work for you? And I said, no, it's going to work for me. And like a lot of people were like really freaked out about it. And I was like, no, it's going to work for me. I'm telling you. And in order to do that, you really have to just say, well, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. For me, that's this obsessive passion for what I do, and I'm just going to keep doing it until I'm more successful and make more money. And no one is going to stop me. And I want to get to the point where not even eBay or Amazon or even Google can stop me. And that's the end goal.
I mean, I think it's interesting because I see it on a lot of blogs and YouTube videos, and God forbid, the eBay forums where people complain, and they complain because they aren't making enough money, and it's normally because they just don't have enough in their store. Like, they think if they have 200 or 300 things in their store that should bring them, they should be selling things every single day. And I always tell people it's a numbers game. Like, you need to put 40 hours into your eBay store for it yourself as if you were to work for somebody else. And you have to do that day in and day out, month after month, just like any job. And if you do that, then you'll get to a place where the money's coming in and you're making a regular income, and then you can start, that then affords you opportunities to branch out into other things. But until you kind of do that, like 12 to 18 month just like ramp up of a store, you're never going to make a living on eBay or Amazon.
That's pretty much all there is to it, really. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you want to be successful on Amazon or eBay or anything in life, I try to bring it outside of Amazon and eBay, because I can attract that crowd and motivate that group of people. And sometimes I can even pull them into Amazon and eBay, which is great. But I say you just have to decide to be unstoppable. And I made a post, and I was like, there's no excuses. Don't be anything less than you can be. And I made a Facebook post, and I said, today I've chosen to be unstoppable. And it's all about the mindset, really. So I try to tell people that all the time, but a lot of people get down on it all the time. They're like, oh, I don't know, things aren't working out too well. And there's a lot of mopey people, and oh my God, I try to just avoid those types of people. I mean, I try to help them here and there if I can, but yeah, I want to be around people who are positive, who are motivated, and who are going to stay that way.
To me, it's all about process. It's about teaching myself the best way to work, the smartest way to work, being the most efficient, and to, if there's a problem, not to live in that problem, but just to solve it, So it doesn't have to be so complicated and emotional. All right. So anything else that you want to share with people? I feel like we had a really good talk. We really love it when these talks are not just about business, but about our lifestyles,
Yeah, I would just say I have, obviously my Facebook is Picking Profits. I have a Twitter, Picking Profits, and I have a website /blog, pickingprofitsblog.com. I just hope you guys are you get some more of a YouTube hangout presence, so we can see you in some stuff. So I hope you guys will come onto my channel, and we can have a discussion sometime.
Yeah, positively, and we will link to all of those places that you talked about on our blog at scavengerlife.com, and we hope that people often leave comments or questions on our blog, so we hope that you'll come over there and answer some of them as well. And that's it. Well, thanks so much, Andrew. I really appreciate talking to you today.
All right. Thanks again for having me on.
Cool. See ya.